Alrighty. Hello everyone. Tonight I'm going to show you how to blend with acrylic painting. So when you're painting on a canvas, especially if you want a seamless background, you got to make sure that not only your brush is wet, but you also make your canvas a little bit damp as well. So I recommend using large plat brushes like this, because then it gives you a broader stroke, and then work your way down into the finer sort of brushes until you can start to work with your flat brushes, your watercolor fan brushes, your angled flat brushes, and then finally your texture brushes. Now, you can get good starter kits in any real, sort of big box store. Sorry, that was my cat. But I recommend, shopping local. I was at the Pioneer here in Caroline today, and I saw they had a very good one on sale for a pretty good price, and it includes a lot of these. And then these ones you'll find more in your home sort of your hardware section of any store. So these are like for painting. They're on the smaller end of painting walls, but they're very good for blending your backgrounds together. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. First thing you're going to want to do is open your canvas. I know, right? You'd think that it'd be going without saying, but some people need directions. There you are. I get my canvases either from Michaels or from Dollarama. In this case, Dollarama. $2.50 for a artist canvas, 11 by 14, and really a canvas is a canvas. Art is very subjective, as everyone likes to point out. And basically whatever medium you're working on, as long as you put your heart into it, people are going to know you worked hard on it. So you should have with you a jar with a container with some water in it. In this case, I use an old pasta sauce jar. It's a good reason to keep those jars is for if you do stuff like this. So cheap, easy, reusable, and you just get started by dipping it. And then you don't want it to be like soaking wet. See, I got some color on this brush. I would have known that otherwise. So you want to make sure your brushes are clean too. That's another thing. And once your brush is clean, I use an old tablecloth instead of like a garbage bag or anything like that, because like really it soaks up water well and it doesn't stain the table if you're careful about it. And you just get rid of any excess water, and then you just do little X's across your canvas until you get a bit of a sheen on it. You don't want too much water on there, but you don't want no water on there either. So you just spread it evenly across the canvas. And tonight I didn't have any pictures to draw inspiration from, so really I'm just sort of winging it. I'm thinking about going for like, well, it is January. Let's go for like a wintry landscape. Right. And if people just joining in now, you can rewind back to the beginning, and I'm sure it'll let you do that. So little X's across the whole canvas. Try to work it into all the little nooks and crannies. There. Don't ever get cats if you want a quiet live stream. Alright. That's good. The canvas is damp, but not soaking. You got a good surface that to work with here. So usually you can make a good landscape out of any two colors and black and white. So the colors I'm going to work with today are going to be purple and ultramarine. Well, in this case, violet, sorry. Violet and ultramarine. Now, these colors almost come standard in any bulk pack of your small acrylic paints. This brand is Dollar and Rowney. Dollar and Rowney. So, get that up close. I got it at Walmart, so pretty easy, pretty cheap, pretty affordable. And we're just gonna plop it on there, like so. Give yourself a lot of space between your colors, and always put less black than all the rest, because black is a very dominant color. And a little bit of black is good, but if you put too much black in, it'll just turn it into a shade of black with that color in it. White's good to have. White you don't have to worry about, because you might be using a lot of that. And then black. Okay. Then you determine, are you going to have a night sky? Are you going to have like sort of like a sunset? In this case, I'm going to do like a dusk, like a dusk sort of sky, because we got two really dark colors. So you start out by mixing your whatever main color you're going to start with. I'm going to start with blue. And then what you do is you get both sides of the brush. Start out like doing like that. And then you just take the corner of your brush, dip it into the black, okay? Add the black to the middle. Add the black to the other side, and then just go back and forth until you have no distinct colors in there. It's its own thing. Then you start at the top of your page. And like before, you start by doing little small X's, making sure you get all of the nooks and crannies. Now, if you mix your colors right, you won't see any distinctive markings. You'll only see the color you put in. Okay. Now, as we're moving in, making it a little lighter, we're gonna add some more. We're gonna add some white. So we're gonna take the corner of our brush, add some white in there, dip our brush to give the paint something to mix in. And then, like that, just cross, doing little X's in the mixing area in the middle. And if you do this right, it'll dry so fast that you can use that middle area to mix almost anything. Then you go a little bit lower. You'll notice that color is just slightly lighter than the other color. Oh, and you want to keep like about a ½ an inch to work with. We'll get to that later. We're going to add a little more white. A little more blue. You want it to seem very gradual. Now, this is where you start to work your way up. So you go into that ½ inch, work your way up like that, and then work your way all the way to the top, fill in the other gap, and maintain a consistent brush pattern, just like that. until there are no little white spaces left. Now at this point you should have something like this, right? But that's still a little stark, so we're going to keep going. And then we're going to move our way down and up as we mix it in. There you go. Now you got a lot of mixes of color in there, but it looks seamless, right? There's no stark difference in color. Well, it speaks for itself, right? Because the sky, it doesn't have outlines, right? It's just the sky. Okay. Now we're going to start from the bottom, and you'll see why later. And we're going to do the same thing, but in reverse and over a shorter distance, leaving a small strip of canvas in the middle for our neutral color. And that's where we're going to put our land and our background and stuff like that. And then our foreground, we're going to make out of black paint. We're going to do a silhouette of a plant. You do a tree, a bush, a shrub, anything like that. But right now we're going to make the body of water. Now for this, you just take a little more black than you did before. Take the rest of the blue and then just mix it all together. Get yourself a real nice dark blue. It'll almost look like a gray, that's how dark it's going to be. And then you're going to use the side of the brush this time, because we're working over a smaller surface area. And if you feel you went too dark on this, don't worry, because you can do the same thing at the top. You just add a bit. And then cross it in. And when you notice that the paint isn't working as well, dip your water, dip it in the water, don't shake it, right? Don't mix it into the water. Just dip it into the water and then go back to your paint palette and do this. Work it into the brush and then keep going. Because we're making a night sky, right? We're making a night sky. Right, now we're going to wash our brush. This is where you get all the paint out. And then once you see there's no paint coming out of that, get all that water out, smack it a bit, and then work your way down again, and up, and down, and up, and down. And then down here, you're going to take this, wet your paintbrush again. Give it a nice wash. Now this is your background. Now we're going to create a new color, and we're going to wash the whole canvas with that, with this as the background, mixing with the foreground. And it's important to do this while it's still wet, because they bond better. Oops. Not to worry, if you get anything like that, it's literally just colored water. It's not going to affect the mixing process whatsoever. So now we're going to move into our violet. Take a bit of the white, and then you're going to mix it together till you have a nice lilac color. You're going to start here. But you're going to go a ½ inch over on both sides. Okay. Once you start to see that you're losing some of that color, keep going, don't reapply. Then mix it in until it looks like it's got a bit of a haze. Just something like that. All right. That looks good to me. Alright, now what you're going to do is you're going to wait for it to dry, and then once it's dry, what we're going to do is we're going to find a small circle, or something we can use to trace. Okay? For me, I'm going to make, and this is for your moon, by the way. This is going to be for your moon. I want to move this closer. Alright, let's see if you can see what I'm doing here. Pivot. Oh. No, I'm not reading it. Hold up. While it's drying, I'll get all my technical issues figured out. I got a new phone, that's why. Okay, let's see if I can share this. You got a new phone. Oh, that's weird. There we go. Oh, I don't like that you can see my gut. Alright. Alright, I should have the chat now. Hold it back more or something. Okay. Anybody still watching? Anybody there? What do you think of it now? How does it look? Good Lord. Didn't realize how popular I am. Okay, is this better for anybody watching? Once it's dry, just get back into blending it, make the color more seamless. You want to have a bit of a purple haze. Not too much, but not too little either. Be very careful if you're using a canvas with a wooden frame, because it'll affect how it looks at on the sides there. Effectively, what you're doing is you're blurring it out. You're blurring out the changes in color. You want it to seem like one seamless group of colors, not individual colors clashing at each other. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to work on the water here. Okay, now the water is gonna be a reflection of the sky, but it's gonna be darker because it's more solid. So you're gonna take that indigo color that you already had and then sort of make more of it, but add black. So you're gonna take all that color, a little bit more. It'll almost look like a purpley gray. Jesus, Cleo. And at this point, you're not gonna. Okay, that's really hard to do. You're not gonna use the full brush. You're just gonna almost skim over it. And it'll provide like almost like those waves, like the differences in color for the waves. And you can add like the sea foam look after. And the bottom of the page doesn't, the bottom of the canvas doesn't really matter. So you can color that in whatever. But you're just gonna do little variations, right? Wash your brush again. Move on to a smaller brush. Wet that brush. Dry it. And then go over the horizon again before you make your final approach into making your scenery in the background, the far background. Try to avoid getting drops on the canvas too, because if you don't dry it right away or blend it right away, it starts to bleed the color away from whatever it's on, and you'll get these like drips. Now once this area is dry, we'll do the moon, but right now we can do the background. Now the background, you're going to take like you're going to take that dark purple, but you're going to use a different brush this time. I use an angled flat brush, like so. mix it in with that dark purple, and then just draw sort of a line. Start with a line and then work your way from there. All right, you want to clean up your line a bit. But this is where you can have those hard edges, right? That we were talking about before. Maybe have like a cove over here. Basically what you're doing is, with painting, is you're giving yourself something to work on top of. Let's make like a mountain in the background. How about that? Just about out of purple. So you'll have like sort of a color like that. You want to clean up your brush too, make it so that you don't have excess paint. You just have enough that you can make your stuff have a solid color. All right, there's a mountain there. There's another smaller mountain beside it. That's sort of a gully, then a valley, and then another mountain. Cleo. And you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing either. You can do your own thing. Hell, if you wanted the Empire State Building in the background, you could probably do that. You do whatever you want. This is your universe. And later on, you can make variations in the shades and stuff like that. Like, doesn't all have to be the same color. Right? Get something like this. Alright, your top should be pretty well dry. I'm going to go change the water real quick. Everybody a chance to have a look at that. going to trace a circle. Now, you can use anything really in your house. You can make the moon as big as you want or as small as you want. Your painting can be on a different planet. You know, ball's really in your court on this one. Me, I'm going to make a smaller moon. I'm going to take this circle, lightly sketch over it. Okay, that didn't end up working at all. Make sure you don't poke a hole in your canvas there. I'm gonna have to go with a bigger circle now. Okay. Shot glass, that'll work. Shot glass, we'll make a shot glass moon. I'm just going over light enough that we can see it. You know where our paintbrush shouldn't go. Yeah, that's much better. Much better. Okay. This is where the white comes in. You take a bit of white. I'm going to dab it on there. And take our small flat brush. Do long, simple strokes. And leave any markings that get left over it. Because those will be craters. Oh, and use a dry brush for this. You want there to be no trace of pencil. And if you want, while it's still wet, take the back of your brush, make little lines, sort of resemble a spider. Along the moon's surface. Yeah, so anywhere there's color that doesn't take the white on your canvas, leave it, because that'll end up enhancing the way your moon looks. Okay, we're going to let that dry, and then we'll come back to it later. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take that white, and where your moon is, you can take your fan brush, like this, mix the color into the fan brush really well on your mixing pad, and then you're just going to make little tiny etches to resemble the light reflecting off of it. Then to add texture to your moon, just give it a couple of dots here and there, making sure you stay in the lines. Something like that. Now we're gonna make the stars. Now this is what's called the splatter technique. My friend April loves to use this. I'm kind of stealing from her. So it's when you take a flat brush, normal flat brush, you dip it in whatever paint you're working with, just the tip, and then you basically take your finger and then splatter the paint like so. And it makes pretty good stars, must say. As a Star Wars fan, I very much like this technique. Not to worry where you get those really big splatters. You're going to turn those into clouds later. Like Bob Ross says, there's no mistakes, just happy little accidents. This big one's not going to work as well. You got to use a flat brush. Always make sure you use a flat brush. I thought maybe the big one would work. Learning curve. I'm going to grab a different one. Here. Something like this. Something like this will work really good. So you just dip the tip of this in the white paint, work it into the brush, dip it again. Let's try this again. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we're seeing those really nice splatters. If you find that your splatters aren't really working, dip a little bit of water in it. Okay, take that away. Now, where the big splatters were, just take your big brush and then just work them into like a sort of cloud shape, going side to side. If your brush is damp, it works a lot better. And scrub it kind of, if it's being difficult. Another one up there. And no cloud is perfect. That's actually the perfect thing about clouds, is they're not perfect. You make some cirrus clouds, cumulus clouds, cumulonimbus clouds, whatever you want, if you're a cloud person. You don't need a lot of white to make a good cloud. It's really all it is just air. Its color should just be whatever color's behind it, a little lighter. Looks pretty good for a background, I'd say. Now we're going to work on our foreground. Unless, I suppose there is some work we could do in the background still. Make it a little lighter. Add some variation in color in the background if you want to be fancy. Take some purple, take some white, take some purple, take some white, mix it all together. A little bit of that dark color in there. And you should have some good variation in color. Make sure you got your brushes not teeming with paint. And just work your way up. Add a little bit of variation here and there. It is winter after all, so you have a lot of snow-covered mountains and hills and stuff in the background. Make sure once you commit to a peak that you actually commit to it. Scrub it in there, leave a little bit of the dark, go all the way over here. That kind of like a curved mountain. To the other side, because it's got the winds, or the moon's light bouncing off of it. Make that one a little lighter. Rotate your brush too, so that no two strokes are the same. And just sort of massage the paint in. If it's becoming hard to work with, dip your brush back and forth a couple times, go back to it. Do sort of something like that. That's probably going to get covered anyway, so you got something like that. Oh, sorry. There. Now we're going to go back to the moon. It looks like it's just about ready. I'm going to add a little bit more of a darker grayish purple. So like it's like this, like that. You can see where my brush is right now. Then we're just going to go around again. Go in some of the areas where it seems like the color's bleeding through. Makes it seem a lot more natural. Then we're going to wash over it another time in white. You got something like that. Wash your paintbrush. Take that off. We're going to go massage that white in. While it's still wet. But leave like a border of that like sort of purpley. Start at the edges and then work your way work your way around. And every moon's got a dark side and a light side. So we're basically making the whole thing the light side, because the dark side you can do after with a minimum of paint becoming a problem. Now with this one, you want to do sort of like the dabbing motion, make your brush do all the work. Sorry. And don't worry if your moon's not a perfect circle either. Our moon isn't. So now you got something like that. Most of the little variations in color there. Now we're gonna make a sort of like a almost like a gray, purpley, whitish. Sort of. It's gray. It's gray. We'll just call it gray. What's this? And then we're gonna go over the very center of all these craters that we made. It gives them kind of like a depth. And you're just gonna cross over and blur it. You should have something like that. Then, finally, take the smallest brush you have, dip it into the white, and then make small impact craters. Impact craters look like spider legs. And go across a large surface area. Hey, baby. I seem to have some company. Come here. Nope, not on the canvas. Lay down. Or go over there. Just leave me alone. No. Okay. Alright. That's enough. Enough of that nonsense. Get out of here. Okay. And then again, just add white wherever you feel necessary. Oh, I'll do a close-up of that. So if you can't see it, that is what I'm talking about, like the spider legs that go across. You see that on the real moon too. Hell, if you wanted to, you can make your mountaintops even snowier than they already are. Don't matter to me. I'm going to. Hey, what did I I say? Okay. All right. Now, you should have something like this. All right. Now, here's where you get the thing that really pops it. The the foreground. So the foreground, what I typically do is I make it a silhouette. Because silhouettes are easy. You don't got to worry about detail. What a suck. What a ham. What a ham. For me, I'm going to make my foreground a pine tree. Because I'm pretty good at making those. And what you do for a pine tree is relatively easy. I just got to wash these real quick. So for me, for my pine tree, I start with a flat brush, small. I start from the bottom. And I do a line straight up, gradually getting thinner and thinner until we reach the tip of the tree. You can make the base of the tree if you want. Usually I just cover it in with bushes. Speaking of, now that we got that, we're going to do another small line here. One off an angle like this. Then we'll do another pine tree over here for symmetry. Now, if you notice that your paint starts to spread thin, add a little water. Not too much, but a little bit will always help. And then draw as straight as line as you can, but after all, it is a tree. It's really hard for a tree to grow in a straight line. Might have some bowing. After all. But as long as it's it's like a crisp line. Okay. Now you can start making like the tips, the bases of some of the branches. Remember, branches don't grow in perfect straight lines either. Pine branches do have a tendency to droop down, so if you're going for as accurate as possible. Now, this is where the texture brush comes in. Texture brush is your best friend. So what you do with that, what you do with that is you make sort of stabbing motions at the papers. Probably the best way. You don't want it to be too heavy either. It usually works best for deciduous trees, but with conifers I usually use a flat brush, but since I'm going to be using it for the bushes down here, I didn't see it being an issue. You start out big to where the end of the branch will be. And work your way back, and then it becomes thin, small. So start out big, work your way back, start out big, work your way back. Don't be shy with your paint either. The more paint you do, the less you smudge. I'm going to add branches thereafter. And then at the end you just add those little things at the top. Now you can add like sort of like thickness to your tree in areas where it might need it. You should end up with something along the lines of that. Add another bush down here. Because okay, so deciduous or coniferous trees, they go out like this, right? So you want to start like way wider wherever you think your branch starts, and then work your way back to that initial branch that you made before. Gotta line this up, make it more symmetrical. Progress so far. Let's add a little more black paint, shall we? That is a lot more. Way more than I thought. Okay. Keep making those bushes at the bottom, the base of the trees. Hide your mistakes as well as you can. There's two great things about carpenters and artists, is they're great at hiding their mistakes. So you tell the difference between a good carpenter or artist and a bad carpenter or artist. It's how well they hide their mistakes. Now you might feel a little apprehension about painting over the mountains you did, but trust me, it'll end up looking great. Remember, that's your background. It's not your foreground. Your foreground's where the magic happens. This one I'm going to make a branch that sort of tees up a little bit. I need a lot of paint though. Never mind. Second thought, I'm going to make that a bush. That looks a little better. Or maybe even another spruce tree. Why the hell not? Make this one a shorter one though. You don't see what I did there. I turned that branch into another tree. If anybody ever asks, why'd you do that? Just say, because I said so. It's a good way to shut them up. I told that tree who was boss. And I think we are just about done. So there. Pretty straightforward. What was it, like an hour and a half? And you don't get a bad painting out of it. Great hobby to have. Great hobby to have. If you're interested in starting a hobby, this would be the one I'd recommend. You can always go back and clean up anything you think you can clean up and make your trees a little taller if you want. Add a couple of little beaver tails or whatever the heck those are. Cat tails. I had a cat in front of me and I didn't even make the connection. Because you are on the water, right? So those things love the water. So I added a few of those. If you don't know what a cattail looks like, it looks like a corn dog, but I don't recommend eating one. Looks like a corn dog and a big stalk. And then it's got a big sharp pointy thing sticking out of it. Yeah, there you go. And last but certainly not least, the final step in any art project, sign your work so that they know you did it. Me, I like to use a paint pen that you can pick up at Dollarama. You get a pack of 4 for about, I think, it's like $4. And if you really want to, my friend Bailey likes to do this. Go around the edges and just paint it black around the edges. So you don't have that bleeding sort of look on dark canvases. I've started to do it and I like the look a lot better. And that's another thing. If you're going to take anything away from today, ask your friends. You should always be trying to teach and you should always be trying to learn. Nobody knows everything. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And thanks, guys. If you guys want me to keep doing this, just, shoot me a like. Whatever. If you see me online, go in the chat. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Yeah, it's something to do during this whole pandemic thing. But bye for now.